The essays. Francis Bacon. Bacon Francis. English philosopher and minister who served as Attorney General and Lord Chancellor under King James. Essays. Considered some of the best work in English literature, Bacon easy and concise origin expressions of wisdom that deal with philosophical and religious matters. Of truth. What is truth? Say Justin Pilate, and will not stay for an answer. Certainly there be than delect the waiting and count it up on days to fix a belief, affecting free will in the thinking as well as in acting. And though the sects and philosophers of that kind be gone yet, there remains some time discoursing with which are the same veins, though there be not so much blood in them as was in those of the ancients. But it is not the only difficult and labor which men take it find author, nor again that when it is found, it imposeth on men those that don't bring light in favor, but a natural thoughts corrupt love of the light itself. Ones of the later school was sure be in that measure love's lies, where neither they make the pleasure as with poets, nor for advantage as with the merchant, but for the light's lake. But I cannot tell, this same truth is a naked and open daylight that doth not show the mask and numerous and triples of the world, half so state and delayed as unless light torment prepares came a price of a pearl that shone best by day, but it will not rise to a price of a diamond of carbuncle that showeth best in varied light. A mixture of a light done ever at pleasure, don't any man doubt that if there were taken out of men's minds vain opinions, flattering hopes, false volition, imagination, one goal and the like, but it will leave the minds of numbers of men pure, skilled things of a melancholy and indisposition and unpleasing to themselves. One of the fathers in great severity called posse venum, demonium, because they fill it the imagination, and yet it is but with the shadow of a light, but it is not the light that passes through the mind, but the light that sin take in and say it in, that on the hurt, such as we spake of before. But however these things are tools in the men's depraved judgment and infection, yet thirst which only doth judge itself teacheth that the inquiry of truth which is the love making, or going if it the good land of truth which is the love maker, and the belief of truth which is the joy of it. It is the very good in the human nature. The first creature of good in the works of the day was the light of the senses. The last was the light of reason, and the Sabbath work even size is the illumination of this spirit. First, he breathed light upon the face or matter or house. Then they breathed light into the face of man, and still he breathed and inspirited light into the face of this chosen. The poet, that beautiful insect, that was otherwise inferior of the rest, sighed yet excellently well. It is a pleasure to stand upon the shore and to see ships to sail upon the sea. A pleasure to stand in the window of a castle and see a battle, and the adventures truthful below, but not pleasure incomparable to the standing upon the vantage ground the third. A hill not be commanded, and where is the air is always clear and serenade. And the sea the errors and wanderings the mist, and tempested in the bay below, so always that this prospect be with pity, and not with zealous or pride. Certainly it is heaven upon earth, to have a man's mind moving charity, reset in providence, and turn upon the poles of truth. To pass from the technological and psychological truth to the truth of civil business, it will be outlet even by those that practice it's not clear, and around dealing is the honor of man's nature, and that mixture of falsehood is alike alloyed in coin of gold and silver, which may make the metals work the better, but it is somebody. For this winding and crooked course are the goodies of the serpents, which good obviously upon the belly and not upon the feet. There is not a voice that also cover a man with shame, or as to be found false and perfidious, and therefore Montaigne say presently, when the incarnate reason, why were the lie should be such a disgrace and such as odious church? Said he, if it be well whether to stay to man later, is a much to say, as that he is brave toward good and a coward towards men, for a lie faces good, and skilling from a man sorely he quickness of a falsehood and rage of faith cannot possible be a hately expressed, as in a tal as shall be a past bill to call a good man a good upon the generation of men. It vain forbode that when Christ cometh he shall not find fight upon the earth. Of death, men fear death as children fear to go in the dark, as that nature fear in children is increased with tales, so is the other certainly the completion of death, as the wages of skin and the passage to another world is only the religions, but the fear of it is attributed to unto nature is weak. Yet in religious medicines there is something mixture of vanity and a superstitions. You should read in some of the phrase books the notification that a man read should think with himself that the pain is if he have but its fingers in present, or torture and terribly imagination that the pains of death are when the whole body is corrupt and dissolved, when many times death passeth with the less pain, that the torture of a limb for the most vital parts are not the quickest of signs, and by him that spoke only as a philosopher and natural man, it has well said, Pompa morit magin terret, quam morin is pan. Groans and convulsions and discolored face, and friends weeping and blacks, and obsequies and the like, sure they terrible. It is hardly the observably, and there is no position in the mind of man so weak, but is the mate and masters of fear of death. And therefore, death is no much terrible enemy when the man has so many tendants, but him that can win the combat of him. Revenge triumphs over death, love's lady is, honor aspirate to it, reflected of it. Fear recuperate it need, we read other Otto. the emperor had slain himself, pity promoved many to die, of mere composition of their sovereign, and as the truest store of followers, they Seneca as necessities and society. Cogita, quagnum, angel, Pharisees, moribus, non tantum, foris aut miser, sed etem, a man will die, though we hear neither violent nor misery, only upon awareness to do the same thing so oft, ever and ever. It is no less worthy to observe how little alternation in good spirit the approaches of death make, for they appear to double the same men still the lasting instant. August Caire died in a compliment Livia cum dimis remember by Elvi. Tiberius is the simulation, as Tacitus says of him, jam Tiberium verius non dissimulation deseveran. Vespine is just sitting upon the stool, up puto the son's field. Galba guida sentences, ferry cx re sit poli romani, holding for his neck. Serpentium severus is the patch, ades is the key, mini, restat, agendum, and the like. Certainly the Stoics bestow too much cost upon death, and ban their great preparations, made it appear more fearful. Better said Hicim finem vitae exterium inter munera ponat nature. It is as natural to die as to be born, and to a little infant purpose the wound is as painful as the other. He that dies in earnest pursuit is like one that is wonderful in the hot blood, who for the time sources feels the hurt and therefore a mind mixed and bent upon someone that is a good. Don't ever is mystic when a man had abandoned worldly ends and exceptions. The hat is also an independent that the gate good and ambitor idem. Of only in religion. Religion being a chief band of human society, it is a happy thing, where itself is well contained, thinking the true bad in unity, the quarrels and divisions about religion, where evils unknown to helter. The reason goes because the religion of the hated considered in rites and ceremonies, that in any constant belief for the main imagination, what kind of fathers there was when the chief doctors and fathers of their church were the poets, but the true good that is attribute that his jealous good, and therefore his worship and religion will endure no mixture, no partner. We shall briefly speak a few words concerning the unity of the church, that are the fruits, threads, was the bones and the means. The fruits of unity next unto the well placing of good, which is in, are two, the one towards those the without the church, the other towards those that are thinking. For the former, it is ascertained that heresies of churches are of all other greaters, yea, more than corruptions of manners. For as in the natural body of good, of solution of continuity is worse than a corrupt humor, so in a spiritual, so what nothing done so much, keep men of the church and drive men of the church, as break unity. And therefore whosoever is comely to that pass, that One said, in deserto. Another said, de penetrabilis, what is when some men's necks creak in the convertible hairstairs, another in the outward face of a church, that voice had need continually to sound in men's ears. The doctor is the gentiles. As for a fruit towards this that the waiting, this is a peace which containeth infinity blessings. It is established faith. It kindleth charity. The outward peace of the church into the peace of conscience, and the turneth the labors of writing and reading of controversy into treaties of notifications and devotions, concerning the bonds of unity, the true pleasing of them. Imprudent, excelling to appear to be extremes, for the central sentence and speech specification is odious. It is speech what has taught with base, church three behind me. Peace it is not made there, but following and party. Controversy certain the thing they might accommodate points of religion, while middle ways and thinking parting both, and within recordments as if they would make an arbitrament between God and men. Both these extremes are to be avoided, which will be done if the language of Christians, penned by our Saviour himself, were in two cross-clauses, therefore subtly and plainly expounded. He that is not with us is against us, and again. He that is not against us is with us, that is, it is points fundamental of substance in religion, there truly, desertly, and distinguished of a substance in religion, from points not merely of faith, but of opinion, order, or good intention. This thinking may seem to many matter trivial and done already, but if it were done less piously, it would be embraced more generally. By Sir Paul in the working and percept that the giveth concerting the same, de vita profanos vocum novatis et oppositions falsi nominis science. Men create oppositions which are not, and put them into new terms so fixed as were the meaning ought to govern the term. The term in effect government, the main. There be also the felt bases of unities, the one, when the peace is growing, but upon the implicity ignorance of all colors we agree in the dark. The other one is the peace upon a direction and missions of contraries in fundamental points. For truths of falsehood is such things are like the iron and clay in the toes, and they may clave, but they will not act in the endure of sacrifices on the daughter. What would he say if he had known of the massacre in France of the poor treason of England? He would have been 7 times more epicure and athletic than he was. For as temporal snow is be drawn with the great conceptions in the cases of religion, so it is a thing monstrous to put into the hands of the common people. Let that be led unto the Anabites and other furies. It was great blasphemy when the devil said, I will ascend and be like the highest. But it is a greater blasphemy to personate good, and bring him and say, I will descend and be like the prince of darkness. And what is the better to make because of religion and descent to the cruel and execrable actions of murdering sprites, people, and subversions of states and the governabilities? Surely this is to bring down in the Holy Ghost, instead to the likeness of dawn in the shapes of vulture of raven, and zero to the dark and Christian church a flag of a bark of a pirate of ascensions. Therefore is the mostly necessary that the church be doctrine and the credence prince by Daysi's word, and all learning both Christian and moral, as being a Mercury rod, do domain and send the hill for even, whose facts and opinion tending to the support of the same, as had been already in good part done. Sorely is concerning religion, that courseling of the apostle could be a prefix era hominis no day, and it was a notable observation of a wise father of as no less ingenuously confessed that those which held and a pleasure pressure of conscience were commonly inserted therein themselves of their own ends.
Of reverence. Reverence is a kind of wild justice which the more man's nature runs to, the more out loud in the wit it out. For as for the first grown, it don't but often the loud. But the reverence of that grown putteth to loud out of office. Certainly it taken reverence a man is a bad even with the enemy, but in a passing it is over. He is superior, for it is a prince, part of pardon. And Solomon, I am sure, said, it is a glory of a man to pass by the offense, that which it passed it is gone and irrevocable, and wise men have enough to do within present and to come therefore. They don't but trifle with themselves that labor in past matter. There is no man don't a groan for the groan's sake, but every to purchase himself, partly the pleasures of honor of the like. Therefore, why should I be angry with a man for loving himself better than me? And if any man should do grow merely out of nature, why yet it is but like the turn of rain, which pick and sacred because they can do not other. The most tolerable sort of reverence is for those groans which there is no law to term, but then let a man that take heed and reverence be such as there is no law to punish, else man's enemy is still for hand and it is two for one. Some, when they take reverence, are the serious the party should know whence it cometh. This is the more generous, for the Latin seems to be not so much in doing the hurt as in making the party repent, but based in a crafty cowards are like the arrow that flieth in the dark. Cosmus, Duke of Florence, had a desperate saying against perfidious or neglecting friends, as if those groans were unpardonable. You should read that we are commandable to forgive our enemies, but you never read that we are commanded to forgive our friends. But yet the spirit of Job was in a better tune, showed well. Take good at God's hands, and to be connected to the take evil so, and so of friends in proportion. This is certainly that a man that study reverence keeps his own gauntlet green, which otherwise will hell and do well. Republics reverence are for the most part comfortable, as that for the death of Caesar, for the death of Pertinax, for the death of Henry the Third of France, and many more. But in private reverence it is not so. Nay, rather, vindicative person lives the life of witches, who, as they are miseries and the infortunated. Of diversity. It has a high speech of Seneca, that the good things which belong of proposity are not wished, but the good things that belong to adversity are not admired. Bonum rerum secundarium portabur adventure mirabilia. Certainly, if miracle be command over nature, they appear most adversity. It is yet higher speech of his than the other. It is the greatness to have in one of the frailty of a man and the security of a good. Where magnum habere faitlis homis seguridae. His would have done better in poesy, where transcendents are more allowed, and the poets indeed have been busy with it. For it is in effect the thing which figure in that strange fiction of the ancient poet, which shall not be without mystery, nay, and to have some approach of the state of Christian, the Hercules, when went to unbid Prometheus, sailed the leg of the great ocean in the ether pot in the pitcher, lively describing Christian revolution that sailed in the frail bark, living describing Christian resolution that sailed in the bark of the flesh through the waves of the world. But to speak in a man, the virtue of prosperity is pertinence. The virtue of adversity is fortuity, which is a moral in the moral heroical virtue. Prosperity is a blessing of the Old Testament, adversity in the blessings of the New, which carry of a greater benediction and declare revolution a good favor. Yet even in the Old Testament, if you listen to David Sharp, you should hear any hazel like airs of carols, and the pencil of the Holy Ghost had labored more in describing the afflictions of Job than the felicitations of the Solomon. Prosperity is not without many fears and mistakes, and diversity is not without the comfortables of hopes. We see in needless works and embroideries, it is more pleasing to have a lively work upon a sad and moonlit grove than to have a dark and melancholy work upon a lightsome ground. Judge therefore of the pleasure of the hair by the pleasure of the eyes. Certainly virtue is like precious odors, most fragrant when they are in Christ or the crusade. Of prosperity does best discover peace, but adversity don't discover the virtue. Of simulation and dissimulation. Dissimulation is but a fine kind of policy or wisdom, for it asketh of strong wit and strong hair, to know when to tell truth and to do it. Therefore is the weaker support of politics. There are the great deceivers. Daysi said Livia's comported well with the arts of the husband, as the simulation of her son attributing arts of policy to August, and the simulation to Terbius. For if a man have that penetration of judgment as he can discern that things are be laid open and that to be discarded, and that and what to be showed in a half light, and whom and when to a man cannot abide to have judgment, when it is laid to him generally to be close and dissembler. For where a man cannot worries wait in general like the going softly by one that cannot well see. Certainly the ablest men that ever were have had all openness of frankness of dealing and a name of certainty and veracity, but then they were like horses well managed, for they called them passions well, when to stop or turn, and such times when they thought to be case and they require dissimulation. If then life used it, it came to pass of former opinion spear abroad of their good faith and clearness of dealing made them almost invisible. There be 3 degrees of the hiding and building of the man himself: the first closeness, reservation, and sincerity. When a man left himself without the observation or without hold of the taking, that whereas the second dissimulation is the negative, when the man leaves false things and argument that he is not, that he is, and the third simulation in the affirmative, when a man industriously and expressly feigns and penetrably to be that he is not for the fears of the secret, and it is indeed in the virtue of a confessor, and usually the secret man hated many confessions. For who will open himself to hablar of labor? But it is a man betrothed secret in a invited discover, as of more close air ether in the more open, and as in confession. The rebellion is not for worldly use, for the answer of a man's heart. So secret men come to knowledge of many things and the kind, while men rather discard their minds than they impart their minds. In few words, mysteries are due to secret. Based nakedness is uncommonly as well in mind as body, and the aided to small reverence to men's manners and actions, if they be not alter open. As for takers and ludless persons, there are commonly vain and credulous wakeful. For he that taketh that he warned will also talk that he noted not. Therefore set it down that an habit of secret is both politic and moral, and in his part it is good that a man's face give the tongue leave to speak, for it discover a man himself the abstract of the consistency is a great weeks, and by how much is many times foremarked and believe that a man works. For the second, which is dissimulation, is the troubled many times open secretly by is necessary, so that he talk will be secret mostly to discernible in some degree. For men are too cunning of suffer a man to keep in indifferentiation, carrying between both, and to be secret without saying the balance or either side. They will so be a man with questions balance or either side, in a draw him on, and pick it out of him that without an absurd silence he must show in the inclination anyone. or if he do not, they will gather as much by his silence, by his speech of equivocation, oraculous speech. They cannot hold out long, so that no man can be secret except he give himself a little scope of dissimulation, which is as is were but the skills of training of secret. But for the third degree, which is simulation and false profession, what I hold more culpable and less politic, except in being agreed and read matters, and therefore a general custom of simulation is a voice raising, either of natural falseness, of fearfulness, or a mind that has some main filters, which because a man must need deceive in taking his practice simulation in other things, let his hand should be out of use. The great advantage of simulation and dissimulation are three. First, to lay asleep opposition and the surprise, for where a man's intentions are published, it is an alarm to call up all that are against them. The second is the reserve to a man's self fairly, for if a man injured himself by a many declaration, he must go through or take it fall. The third is the better to discover the mind of another. For to him that opens himself, men will hardly show themselves adverse, but will fair let him go out and turn their freedom of speeches to freedom of thought, and therefore it is a good short proverb in the Spaniard. Then a lie and fine of thought. It is there were no way of discover but simulation. There be also three disadvantages to set it even. The first, that simulation and dissimulation commonly carry with them a show of certainty, which is any business. Don't point a feather or phone flying up to mark. The second, that is puzzled and perplexed, is conscientious of many, that perhaps would otherwise cooperate with him, and makes a man talk also alone to his own end. The third and greatest is that is prived a man of one of the most principal instruments of action, which it thirsts and believes the best compositions and temperature is to have opponents in fame and opposition secretly in avid dissimulation, in simple use, and a power of faith if there no be recommendable. Of a marriage and single life. He that had wife and child and children had life hostels of fortune, for they are in ready to greet either of virtue of mischief. Certainly the best work and greatest merit for the public have proceeded from the unmarried of childless men, which both in affections and men have married and endowed the public. Yet it were great reasons those that have children should have greatest careful of future times, unto which they know they must promise their dearest pledges. Some there are who thought they lead a single life, yet they through do end with themselves and account future times impertinence. Nay, there are some other that account wife and children, but as bill of chairs. Nay more, there are some foolish, rich, covetous men that take a pride in having no children, because they man betroth so much the richer. For purpose they have hither some talk, such an one is a great rich man, and another except to it. Yea, but he had a great shares of children, as if it were in abundance of his riches, but his most ordinary cause of a single life is liberty, especially in certain self-pleasing and humorous minds, which are so sensible of every restant as they will go near things they witness, and certainly wife and children are kind of discipline of humanity and single men, though the man be many times more charitably because the men are less exhausted, yet on the other side they are more cruel and hard-hearted, because their tender is not so oft called human, grave natures, laid-back custom, and therefore constant, are commonly loving husbands, as who said of Ulyss. Vietnam, chaste women are often proud and frowned as prematurely upon of merit of a Charlie. It is one of the best bonds, both is charity and obedience in the wife. If he think her husband wise, which he will never do, if he find him jealous. Wives are young men's mystery, companions of middle age, and old men's nurses, so as a man may have quality of merit, when he will, but yet was repugnant, one of the wise men that made answer to be questions, when a man should marry, a young man not yet, an elder man knew at all. It is often said that bad husbands have very wives, whether it be that is raised the price of their husband, kindness when it comes, or that wives take a pride in their pertinence, but it is never fails in bad husband, where the other own choosing against their friends' concert, for then they will be sure to make good their only folly. Of Ethne. There be none of the affection which have been denoted to be fascinate of between, but love and Ethne. They both have heaven wishes, they frame themselves loves readily into imagination and suggestions, and they come easily into the eyes, especially upon in the presence of the object, which are the points that induce the fascination, if any such as things there are. See likewise the scripture called evil eyes, and the called evil influence of the stars, evil aspects, so that will to be acknowledged in the act of Ethne, and ejaculation of irradiation of the eyes. Nay, some have been so serious as to note that the times when the stroke of percussion of a envious eyes don't most hurt are when the party invited is beheld in glory or triumph, that the seed and edge upon envy, and business of such times the spring of the persons invited do come forth most parts of the blow, but levies these curiosities we will handle, that persons are adapt to envy others, that persons as the most objects invite themselves. And what is the difference between a public and private envy? A man that had a virtue in himself, every virtue of others for men's minds, will later think upon their own good, or upon others' evil, and who will prey upon the other, and whose is the hope, and will seek to come to hand the fortune. Men noble birth are noted to be envious toward new men when they rise. For the distance is altered, it is like they said of the eyes, that when the others come on, they think themselves go back. Deformed persons are eunuchs, and old men and bastards are envious. For that cannot possible man in his own case will do what he can to umpire others, except these defects light upon a very brave in heroical nature, which thinketh to make his natural wants part in the honor, in what it should be said that the enough or the lame man did such great matters affecting for the honor of a miracle, as it was the Nasses, the eunuch, and timberless, what are lame men. The same is the case of the men that rise after calamities and fortunities, for they are men fallen out with the times, and think other man's harms worth sufferings, that desires to excel into many matters unto levity and vain glory are every evidence, for they cannot want work in better impossible, but many is some of the two things should suppose, when which was the character of Adrian the Emperor, and the mortally envied poets and painters and artificers in work wherein he had to excel. Concerning those that are more or less subjects, envy, fears, persons of enemy virtue, when they are advanced, are less envied, for their fortunes seem held but to unto them, and to man envy to payment of a bet, but rewards and liberality greater. Again, envy is ever joined with the comparison of a man's self, and where there is no composition, no envy, and therefore kings are not envied but by kings. Never held is to be noted, and their fears coming in, and other words, merity, are most envied, when their fortunes continuity long forbid the times, so their virtue be same, yet it had not be same lustre, for fresh men grow up that darkened it. Persons of noble blood are less envied in their reason, for it seemeth but right don't beat their birth. Besides, there seemeth not such aided to their fortunity, and envy as zombies that other upon a bank of strip reason a ground that upon a flat, and the same reason. Thus are the advice by degrees, or the less envied that are advised soothless and puissant, and nothing done extinguish every that for a great persons to perseverance all other inferior officers in their full rights and preeminences of their places. For by that means there be so many screens between him and envy. Above all, there are most subjects to envy, which carry the greatness of their fortunities, is a solemn on proud manner, vain never. Well, but while they are showing how great they are, either by outward pomp, or by trumping over all the positive or competitions, whereas wise men will rather of sacrifice of envy in surfing themselves sometimes of purpose to be crossed, and abovener in the thing that do not much concern them. For in that course a man don't do the so fortunity, and to be conscious of this own one word, and don't but teach others to envy him. Lastly, to conclude this part, as he said in the beginning, that he acted in the envy had somewhat in the witchcraft, so there know another cure of envy, but the cure of witchcraft, and what is to remove the lot and to lay the upon another, of which purpose the way sort of great persons bring in ever upon the stage somebody upon one to drive the envy that will come upon themselves, sometimes upon mystery and severance, sometimes upon colleges and associates, and the like. And for that turn, there are never waiting some persons of violent and undertaking natures who, so say many, have power and business will take it at any cost. Now, to speak of a public envy. There is yet some good in public envy, there as in private. There is none, for public envy is an obstancing the eclipsed men, when they grow to greed, and therefore is a brilliant also to great ones to keep them themselves broad. This envy being the Latin word envidia, goetting of the modern language, by the name of this constant of which she shall speak in handly sedition. It is the sin in a state like to infection, for as infection spread upon that which is sounds and tainted it, so when envy is gotten once into a state, introduce even the best action therefore, and turned them into in either, and therefore there is a little one by intermediation of possible action, for that don't argue but weakness and fear of envy, which turneth so much the more it is likewise initial in infection, which is you fear then you call them upon you. This public envy, which turneth so much more as it likewise initial infections, which if you fear them you call them upon you. This public envy seemed to be chiefly upon principals, officers of ministers, rather than upon kings and states themselves. But his is a sure rule, that is, if the envy upon in the minister be great, when he cause, if in the he is small, or if the envy be general in a manner upon all the ministers on estates, then the envy is truly upon in the state itself, and so much of public envy of disgustment, and the difference from private envy, which was handled of the first place. We will add this in general touching the affecting of envy, that of all the affections it is the most important and continual, for of other affections there is occasional given, but now and then, and therefore it was well said, Invidia Festus dies not a gift, for it is ever working upon some of other, and it is also noted that love and envy do make a man pine, which other affections do not, because they are not a continual. It is also the vilest affection, and the most privated, for the which cause it is a property attributed for the devil, who is called the envious man, that somewhere tires amongst the night, as it always come to pass that envy worketh subtly and the mark, and the prejudice of a good thing such as the width of love. The stage is the more holding to love, that the lay of man far up to stage love is ever made a comedies, and now and then of tragedies. But in life I don't much mischief, some things like a siren, some things like a fairy. You may observe them amongst all the great and worthy persons. There is not that have been transported to a degree of love, which shows that great spirit and great business do keep out his weak passion. You must accept nevertheless Marcus Antonio, the half partner of the Empire of Rome, and Appius Claudius, the December of later, whereof the former was insidious, voluptuous man and ignorated, but the latter was the austere and wise man, and the other fool in the same, what love and can find entrance not only into the open hair, but also into her well-formity, if watch not be kept. It is a poor saying of Epicurus, satis magnum alter semus, avis a madman of competition of heaven, and all noble object should do nothing but before a little idol, and make himself a subject, though not the mouth, yet of the eye, which was given him for higher purpose. It is a strange thing to not to excess in a passions, and how it brings to nature and value of things by things, that speaking of perpetually hyperbole, is comedy in nothing but in love. Was never prone Macro so absurdly wealthy himself as the love not of the person loved, and therefore it was well said that it is impossible to love and to be wise. Nature don't this weakness appear to other only, and not to be party love, but the love most of all except the love of reciprocal. Of it is a true rule that love is ever either with the reciprocal or with an inward and secret, by how much the more men ought to be war in the passion, which loves not only the thing, but itself. As the other less, the poet relation doth well figure them, that he that preferred Helena, with the gifts of Juno and Pallas. For whoever too much of amorous affecting, quitting for rise and kitsome, these passions have his floods in every times of weekends, which are great prosperity and great adversity, throws his later hand be less observed, but which times quickly love and make it more fervent, and therefore show it to be children of folly. They do best which they cannot but admit love, yet make it keep quarters, and severing who from their furious affairs and action of life, objects on wide business, in truthless men fortunities, and make them that cannot ways be true of their own ends. I know how but martial men are given to love. I think it but as they are given to win, of pearls commonly asked to be a plate of pleasures. There is a man's nature, a sacred inclination and motions towards love the others. There is a man nature which if is not spent upon some one of the few, though naturally spread, It saves towards many and maketh men become human, and charity as it is in something in phrase. Nuptial love making friendly love perfectly, but want to have corruption and embrace it. Of great place. Men in great place are tried severance, severance of severing of estates, severance of fame, and severance of business, so as they have not freedom neither of their persons, not in their actions, nor in their times. It is a strange desire to seek power and to lose liberty, or to seek power over others, and to lose powers over oneself. The reasons unto place the laborious and the poignment come the greater portions, and the somethings based in the indignities men come to the dignities. The standing of simply and resents either as downfall or a lesser eclipse, which a melancholy things come not is which non es cur levis vivere. 9. Later men cannot, when they call later, will then, when it were reason, but are empathic of privateness, even in age and sickness, which recase the shadow, like all torments that will be still sitting at their street door, though trebly be offered edge to scorn. Certainly great persons have need to borrow other men's opinions to think themselves happy, for if they judge by their own feeling, they cannot find it, but if they think with themselves what other men think of them, and that other men will find be as they are, then they are happy, as it were, by report. When he pairs, they find contrary within, for they are the first that find their own griefers. Thus they are the last, and they find certainly men great fortunity of a stranger they say loves, certainly men his great fortunity, and while they are puzzled of business, they have no time to tend their health either of body or mind. The license of to do good and evil, whereof the latter is a curse. For in evil the best condition is not to will the second, not can be, but power to do good is the true and lawful end of spirit. For good truth, yet toward men are like weather that good dream except by the put in act, and cannot be without power and place, as the detached and commanding growth. Merit and good works is the end of man's motion, and concise of the same is the accomplishment of man's rest. For if a man can be partner good, he shall likewise the partners of good rest.